We had a plan. Krishna had a different plan.
Krishna 有不同的计划。
Krishna won.
Krishna 想要这个计划发生。
Not sure I understand the plan either, but
但我想大家都知道这个 Krishna 是想怎样安排的。
The evening topic,
今天晚上的主题，就像你们在屏幕上看到的。
And you may notice over on the table over there, there's some copies of this little book, skinny book.
有很多这本小书，一本很薄的书。
When I became inspired to speak on this book, Premananda said, "Oh, I have 80 copies."
那么当我就是很想就是去讲这
Bangsidari
本书的
said,
时
"Oh,
候，
I have 80 copies."
那么 Bangsidari
So we have
说他有
160
很多
copies
本，有
that
80
people
本
want
这样的
one.
这个小书，所以总共有160本。
The book itself, just a background on the book.
那这本书只是一个讲述背景的书。
Some years ago,
就很多年前
from the GBC strategic planning team,
那么
there was an
在这个
idea
GBC 的
that certain
一个小组，他们有一个主意，
certain documents would be important to establish now and going into the
那么就
future
是去确立一个从现在到
a
未来的
nice
这样的一个
sounding
记录
name,
档案
a
是非常
foundational
有必
document
要的。
to explain the significance of Srila
那么
Prabhupada
这个
as
是
the founder Acarya of ISKCON.
就是记述 Srila Prabhupada 是ISKCON
The
的这个
assignment
创办
was
的领
given
导
to
师的
Rabindra
这
Swarup.
个
There was
档
a
案非
committee
常
of
重要。
something like 8-10 people very interested in this topic.
那么发现这个有
But he
很
did the
多
main
人对
writing.
这
There
个
are other contributors. You'll see if you
对这
take a
个
look
主
at
题
the
非
book.
常感兴趣，于是最后这本书就成型了。
And the ISKCON disciple course is kind of like
而
a
且 ISKCON
super
的这个
mini
门
of,
徒课
of
程，
that. To be a member of ISKCON means
那么作为这 ISKCON 成员，就意味着
just there's a unique position of our founder Acarya.
就要意识
This
到
goes
这
much
个
deeper.
创办理性导师的这个非常独特的
But
地位。
that's the directional principle. And we're going to touch, I would
这是一个
plan to touch on a few topics
那么我想就是出
to
其
present
中的
this.
几个主题，
One of them is where
其中一
the
个就
title
是
comes from.
那就是这
Founder
个
Acarya
这
is
个头
kind
衔
of
是从哪
unique.
来的呢？这个创办理性
Did
导师的头
Prabhupada
衔非常
create
的独
that
特。
title,
那
or was it a
创
pre-existing
设了
title,
这样
or
的一
how
个
did
头
it
衔，
manifest?
那这个
And
头衔究竟是
it
怎
took
样
some
到
time
来的
for
呢？
Rabindra Swarup Prabhu to find out that
这有一位帕布他是花了些
Professor
时间
Nishikant
找到这个
Sanyal,
尼什康塔桑瑶这
he
个
was
教授，
a disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta
他
Saraswati
是巴提斯
Thakur
坦塔萨斯瓦提塔库的一个门
and
徒，
a professor of history in the university in
这个
Kathak.
他是
They worked very,
在
very
这个
closely
Kathak
together. You'll
这个
find as you read through this.
大学的这个历史
Sometimes
学教授。
they would exchange names. Bhaktisiddhanta would write the article and it would be published in his name and vice versa.
有的时候巴
They
提斯坦
worked
塔
very
会
closely
以
together
他的
in
名字
their
来出版。
publication work. And Sri Krishna Chaitanya
那么
is the
是
title
Krishna Chaitanya
of
就是
volume
这
one.
本书的，
There's 2 volumes.
那么有2
This
册
was
这本书，
a
这是第一卷，
requirement, a plan, a vision of Bhaktisiddhanta before
那么这是
sending
巴提斯坦塔
his
的一个愿景，
sannyas disciples
在
from
去派他
India
的 Sannyasi 门徒
overseas
去出发
to England. He
去
wanted
英
to
国的。
introduce to at least to the intellectual
那么
people, readers of
他
England,
想去
who was Lord Chaitanya.
告诉这个
These
在
sannyasis
英
were
国的这些
carrying
高知们，那
mission and the
就是
message of Lord
Chaitanya 是
Chaitanya.
谁？
And Nishikant Sanyal was
而尼什
given
康的桑瑶，
the assignment to produce the book.
那
And
么
it's
就给
really,
出这样的
really
任务，就是让
thorough,
他来出版
really,
这部
really
书。
thorough. A big significant part at the beginning is the life and who is Bhaktisiddhanta. And in the course of who is Bhaktisiddhanta in the Gaudiya Math, this
在
this
这
phrase
个巴基斯坦他在高迪亚马特这个阶段，那么这个
Now, is there anybody here that did not receive and would like to receive the PDFs? There's 3 PDFs.
那么
for this
在座的
evening's
各位
class.
有没有人
And because I'm going to be making reference to it, and if you didn't receive it, raise your hand.
就收到这个
Everyone
小
received
册
it.
子有兴趣，
That's good. You may
你们
not
可
have
以
looked at it.
自
You
己
can
去
look
阅
at it
读。
later. It
那么你们可
may
以
save
稍
you
后
from reading the
去
book, or it may
拿到这
inspire
种人
you to
小
read the
书。
book.
那么
But I'll be speaking from that message in that PDF.
那么我会就这个 PDF 这个资料来进行讲述。
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur was commonly referred to
Bhaktisiddhanta
as
Saraswati
the
Thakur.
Acarya with a capital A.
那通常会被称为这个
Acarya
大写的这个 Acarya。
And before he went to England,
而且在
the
他去
term
往英国
founder
之前，
Acarya
那么这个
appears first
放
in Dr.
这个
Samuel.
创办理性导师是首先在巴基斯坦他的书中出现的这个头衔。
Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur had not
巴基斯坦他 Saraswati
officially
Thakur
gone by that nomenclature yet, but it was the vision of
他当时只是有这样的一个愿景，
whatever Professor
就是
Sanyal wrote in his book was approved by Bhaktisiddhanta. He was
那么
like
就是
a
这个
mirror of him, whatever he wanted.
这本被巴基斯坦
So
他
it
批
was
准的出版的
to-
这本
it
这个
was
由桑耀出版的这本
to
书
be
就
given, or it was
反映
given
了
by
他当时的
Professor
誓语。
Sanyal to Bhaktisiddhanta in the course
那
of
么
his
作为
taking
他献给
Gaudiya
巴基斯坦他的
mission
一个
outside
一
of
个礼
India,
物，就是将
which
高利亚
was
的这个
part of
使
Bhaktivinoda
命
Thakur's vision,
延
which
伸到
was
印度以外的地
inherited
方。
from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's vision,
那
every
么是
town and
那么
village
这也
throughout the
是
world.
继承了查塔尼亚马哈帕布的这样的一个誓语，
So founder
并且继续下去。
Acarya is
所以
hyphenated,
创办理性导师
and
是
the
一个特殊
founder
的
is
名字。
obviously English, and
那么
Acarya is not. So
这个创办
people
是这个
in
英文。
England could come to know of Bhaktisiddhanta as
那么好
founder
让这
Acharya
个
of what?
在英国的
Of
人能够
the
理解
message of
这个
Lord
概
Chaitanya,
念，
which is explained within the book, the life and the teachings
能够
of Lord
同时呢
Chaitanya.
能够让英国人理解查塔尼亚
Now,
通过这本小
historically,
书，
before
这
that,
个 Krishna Chaitanya 这本小书了
historically
解查
before
塔尼亚
that,
是何许人也。那么在这之前的历
Bhaktivinoda
史
Thakur
历史上
wrote
巴基诺的
a
塔库
short
写了
86-page little booklet.
写了一本64
This
页
is
的
a
一本
big, thick book, 2 volumes. Short
那么我们看到
86-page
图上的这
booklet.
本书是有
The
2
life
册，非
and
常厚。
teachings
但是当时
of
巴基
Sri
诺塔库
Chaitanya
写了本小
Mahaprabhu.
书，讲的
And
是
he
查
sent
塔
it
尼亚马哈
to
帕布一生的
university
教
in
导，
English,
并且把这本
universities all
书
around the world
用英文
from his own
印刷，
pocket,
并且
just
派发到
that
全世界的
to,
图书馆。
to professors, to universities, so that you, at least his vision was, at least educated people should
他
know.
当时给了这个
Because
会英文的这个
Many people don't know. And
教
during
授，那么
Bhaktivinoda
他的
Thakur's
这个誓
time,
语就是为了让这些
the name of Chaitanya
使用英语的
Mahaprabhu
国
had
家的人们
fallen
能够
into
了
ill
解。
repute. It had fallen into ill repute because of the deviations that took place, the Sahajya deviations. We know that term in ISKCON, but there's
那么当
13
时
different divisions
出
of
现
them.
了这样
Some
的就
this,
是哲
that,
学的
that, and
偏
the
离，
other,
出
and
现
the
了
other.
撒哈节。那大
And
家在伊斯兰都知道
Bhaktivinoda
撒哈节是
Thakur
什么
wrote，about them
那
and,
Bhaktivinoda Thakur
expressed what was wrong about
就
each one.
就
And
写到了这些
then
问题，
established
并
Lord
且说
Chaitanya's
一
teachings.
点出了这些问题是什么，并且
So that was,
有
he
讲
was a
到了查塔尼亚马哈
revivalist
帕布他原
of
本的教
the
导是什么。
essence of Lord Chaitanya's teachings.
所以他
And
当时那本
he
书中就记载
began
了
the effort
马哈帕布的这个
something like
教导的本
18
质。
years before
所以
his disappearance from this world to tell
在他
people of
离
the
世
world
前的
who was
18
Lord
年呢，
Chaitanya,
他做出这样的努力，
his
就是
life,
想让世人
which
去
is
向
Chaitanya
世人去讲解
Charitamrita,
查塔尼亚
and his teachings, which
他的这
was
个教导和
Bhaktivinoda
他的一
Thakur's
生，就像查塔尼亚查塔米卡
fingerprints.
介绍的这个内容。
He established their 10 essential teachings of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, I'm going into a bit of detail. I hope it's okay.
讲述了
But
马哈
his
帕布的这
10
个基本的10
dasa
个教导。
Mula means root, 10 essential teachings of
那
Lord
么它有这
Chaitanya
个10个
was drawn
Chaitanya 有
from
10个这
Baladev
个根
Vijayapusan's
基的教导，
Navaprameyas, which
从
was
从这
drawn
个
from
Baladeva Vidyabhushan
Madhvacharya's similar
是
expression.
从 Madhvacharya 那里
It's
继
in
承下来的
disciplic
教导。
succession, and it was
那通过这个师
Bhaktivinoda
傅传系继承
Thakur's
下来
way，of expressing
那
in
当然是
synopsis
Bhaktivinoda
form
Thakur
the
用
essential
他的这样的一
teachings
种
of Lord
方式
Chaitanya.
来呈现 Chaitanya 的教导。
He, Bhaktivinoda, wrote 100
Bhaktivinoda
books,
Thakur 写了100多本书，
and
令
in
人惊奇。
maybe 80 of those 100 books, some large number of times,
那么
he
大概就是80本，
either
这100
listed
多
or
本的80本，
expanded the explanation. He really wanted people to
要
understand
么就是
the
浓缩的，
essential
要么就
teachings
是
of Lord
扩展
Chaitanya.
的来去讲述
Now, this
Chaitanya
book is
这
the
个
same,
本质的教导。
who is Lord Chaitanya and his teachings, life and
所以
teachings,
这本书上就
but
讲的是
expanded.
Chaitanya 是何许人也，并且讲
And
了他
then
的
the
这
beginning
个
section in
教
this
导，
book is
但是一种这个
the
扩展的
mission
方式来讲，
of and the personality of
就
Bhaktisiddhanta.
讲到了
You notice what
Bhaktisiddhanta
the
的，
diagram
这本书
is
呈
on
现
the
了
cover?
Bhaktisiddhanta 的这样的一个使命。
The diagram that's on the cover is this one.
我不知道大家有
This
没有
is
看过这个图表，这个当时他们的这
Bhaktisiddhanta
个
Saraswati
一个 logo， 一
Thakur's
个图
logo for the
是
Gaudiya Math.
Bhaktisiddhanta
And just
给
keeping it
这
really
个
simple,
Gaudiya Math
there's
设计的
details,
这样的一个
but
标志。
on our
这个
visual
标志有很多细
left-hand
节。
side, or the
那么
logo's
在我们的
right-hand
视
side,
视角
is the
上，这
path
个
of Vidhi
左边
Bhakti,
是讲的是
with
Bhakti
Archana at the
Bhakti
bottom
的
and
这
the
个
scripture
Vidi，
that
这个就是
directs
法律规
Archana
范。
is the Pancharatras.
那 Acarya 指的就是
And on the right side of
Pancharatra
the
的这个
diagram is Ragamar,
神像崇拜的
Raga
细节。
Bhakti, with the
而在最右边
Bhagavatam,
是 Raga Bhakti，
Kirtan,
而在这个
and
右下角则
see
是
that other
Kirtan
drawing
和
that's
博伽瓦
just
禅。
above the word Kirtan is a printing press.
那么在这个
And below is the Mridanga, and it's above is the Brihat
Kirtan 这个
Mridanga.
字眼之上其实是一个印刷机，而
So
下面则是个米当
Bhaktisiddhanta
机。
was very
所
fond
以
of book
Bhaktisiddhanta
publication.
非常喜欢
He
这个
was
出
more
版书
fond
籍，
of book publication
他更加喜欢
than
书籍的出版，胜过于
many other things. But
胜
he,
过于其他的一
innovative
些事物。
person, because it's in our line, the writing of and the printing of and the distribution
那
of
么，因为他是
transcendental
我们使徒
teachings.
传奇中，他在去派发这样的
Srila
这个超然的教
Prabhupada,
导。
you'll
Srila Prabhupada，
find if you read this, nice
那
little,
么
it's
如果你
very
们读了这本小书
in
《放到 Acarya》，这个超然听
Prabhupada
导师这本小
was such a
书非常
follower
不错的书。
of
Srila Prabhupada 他
Bhaktisiddhanta
是这样的一个
Saraswati
追随者
Thakur.
，Bhaktisiddhanta 的 Saraswati Thakur 的这样的一个追随者，
Everything,
在方方面面都在追随。
as Bhaktisiddhanta did, Srila Prabhupada was the
就像
very,
Bhaktisiddhanta
very close
那样做的。
follower of
那么
everything.
Prabhupada 是一个非常
Everything.
紧密的追随者，去追随他的方方面面。
Now, in one of these PDFs that
那么
you
在
should have
他的这
received,
个
or apparently you did
你
receive,
们后面会收到的一个资料里面
there's
会
a
找到
nice definition of Acarya
在这里
taken
面有一
directly
个
from the
对
book.
这个 Acarya 的这样的一个
And
介绍，一个定义，
you
在
don't
这
need
本
me to
在
read
那
it
个
to
资
you
料中。
because you can read it yourself, but I'll read it to you.
那么我在这里会给大家阅读一下，你们自己也
Simple.
可以稍后再阅读一下，非常简单。
This is Rabindra Swarup Prabhu's
是
writing
Arvind
with like
Swarupa
10 other
Prabhu
people editing and proofreading and stuff.
有这个8到10
And
人小组
Acharya,
来这
or
个
in
撰写并且校
Prabhupada's
对。
words, a
那么以
transcendental
Papa 的话来
professor of
说，一个
spiritual
Acarya 就讲的
science
是一个超然的关于理
is a
性科
different
学的一个
breed
教授，超然的
from
教授。
your modern
那么
academician.
这个与你
The
们的这个
transcendental
现代
professor
的学术
takes
是完全不
charge
一
of
样
the
的。超
disciples
然的这个
and
教授，
after initiating them
他要负责他
into
的门徒，
their sacred
在这
studies,
个启迪他们之后，然后
thoroughly
让他们进
schools them
行
in Vedic
神圣的
knowledge
这种
and
科
trains
学的研
them
习，
in
而且
its
在伟大的
requisite
知识方面
regulations and
去教育
disciplines.
他们，并且去训练他们在这个必要的这个规范和这个规范守则
Acharya
上
comes
去
from
去训练他们。
achara, a word
Acarya
that
这个词是来
denotes
自 Achara
the
这个词，
shastric
那
rules
么
of
这个词
conduct.
是讲的
as
这个
well
经
as
典
the
中的
observant
这些
conduct
行
itself.
动的这些训令。
And Acarya teaches such conduct
那么这样一个 Acarya，
not
他
only
不光教导，
by
而且自己
precept
要以
but
身
by
作则。
personal
一个
example.
Acarya 不光
The
教导，
Acarya is exemplary.
那么 Acarya 他是以身作
So
则
these
的
are
一个榜样。
that phrase we all know very well.
那么关于
Acharya
这一点，
means
我
one
们
who
我们是非
teaches
常
by
熟悉的。
example.
那么我们说
But
Acarya
there's
就是以身作则的一个
more.
人。但这里还有更多的讯
Prabhupada
息。
writes, an Acharya is an
是
ideal
Prabhupada 写
teacher
到
who
说，一个
knows
Acarya 是一
the
个理想的
purport of the
导
revealed
师，
scriptures,
他知道
behaves
这些启示经
exactly
典的要
according to
旨，
their
而且他
injunctions,
的行
and
动
teaches
也
his
完全的
students to
去遵
adopt
循这
these
些教导，
principles also.
而且
There's
他也去
more,
教
but
导
this
他的
is
学
just
生们去遵
because
循
this
这
is a
些原则。
foundational document, and I'm
那么
taking
这
you
是一个
through
非
it.
常基本的基础
What
的这
was
样的一个
it,
重要的文档。
a concise definition of Acharya?
那么这里有一个非常清晰的、非常
Then
仔
comes
细的这样的一
this
个定
founder
义来介
Acharya.
绍什么是Acarya。 那我
How
们
do
现
the
在来
two
看什么是
terms
创办
interact?
灵性导
I'll
师。
let you read it. I
那么
won't
这
read
是
this
两
one.
个词组合在一
Founder
起的。
means establishes something.
Founder 是讲在英文里面是指创办
And
者。
fast forward a bit. The founder Acharya
那么创办灵
of
性导师
Gaudiya Math
高
was
迪亚玛的创办灵性导
Bhaktisiddhanta.
师是
And
巴提
that's
西
what's
丹
in
塔。
this Sri Krishna Chaitanya. The first
这个在那本书
substantial
《Sri
section
Chaitanya》
is
Sri Krishna
introducing
Chaitanya 中
to
就
the
讲到
reader
这一
in
点，
England, who is
介绍给这个在英国的
the
这些
founder
人
and Acharya.
明
It's
白
a
这个
hybrid
创
English
办
word,
者和
Sanskrit
这个
word.
Acarya。
So it's explained what Acharya means, we just read, and
所以他解释了
founder.
什么是
This
Acarya， 像我们
Gaudiya
刚读的。
Math, and
而
there's
这
this
个
strong
创办
language
者，
that you see when you read this, that the founder and
那么在这
the
里用了非常强烈
institution
的
or
这
the
样的词
organization
去
are
讲到这个
non-different.
创办者。这个
The,
创办
the
者呢，
organization is the
这个
founder
话说的是
and
非
the
常
founder
的
is
这
the
个严重
organization.
的，就说到这个
He
创办者和这
covers
个
it
组
in a
织没有
very
区别。
his language. He's a professor and
那么他
fluent
是
in
这个
English
桑耀，他是一
and
个精通
it's
英
very
文的
clear.
这样的一个
Founder Acharya.
一个教授，所以他用的这个词讲的是非常定义非常明确的，就
So
是
that's how
创办
the
灵性
two
导师
terms
的这个地位。
interplay. We touched a little bit on how the history of the title came out,
而且他还
but
触及了这
even
个
during
这个头衔
Bhaktisiddhanta's
创办灵
time,
性导
even
师
when
是
this
怎么
book,
来的。
Sri
即便
Krishna
是在巴
Chaitanya,
基斯坦
was
塔那个年代，
published, it's
当
not
这
that
本
from
《Sri
that day
Krishna Chaitanya》这
forward,
本书
Bhaktisiddhanta
的时候。
or his followers started calling him Founder Acharya. But it
那个
was
时候其实也是不久，就是
the footprint was there, or the
他的追随
fingerprint was
者
there.
还没有这样去广
And
泛的去这
being
样
a
以
strict
创办灵性导师
follower,
来称呼他。
Srila Prabhupada
但
adopted
是
that
Prabhupada
title.
作为这个巴
Now,
基斯坦塔的
if you
忠实的
want
追
to
随者，
know,
他
maybe
就
some
采
of you
用了这样
wondered,
的一个创办灵性导师的这个
if
词
he's
语。
such a strict follower, then why
那如果他
did he
是
go off and
这
start
样一
another
个，
entity?
那么有人会说，既然他是这么忠实的追随者，为什么他要另外去开办一个机构呢？
Anyone ever wondered that one? Well, read the
有
book
没有
because
人
it
会好
explains
奇
it.
这个？
But he wanted to
那么
lift
Srila
up
Prabhupada 他想要去
Gaudiya
提升
Math.
提升
But
这个高迪亚玛
by the time he
但
was
是
in his
在他
preaching phase, it had
当时
already
在
been
这个
broken
传教的时候，
beyond repair. He tried to repair, he tried to unite and so forth and so
他
on.
试着想要
But he
去修
understood
复当
the
时高迪亚玛
mission
的这种
had to carry
情形，
forward not with something that's broken,
但
but
是
with
却
something
没
that
有
was
成功。
bearing the principles. So bearing the principles that lucidly and
Prabhupada-
extensively
他
Bhaktisiddhanta
承载了
Saraswati
这个
Thakur
巴
had
西丹塔萨
expressed,
斯瓦塔库的这个
he
原则，
established
他
another
就
legal
建立
entity,
了另外一个合法的这样的一个不
ISKCON.
建立另外一个联盟，
It's
就
not
是
like,
ISKCON
in other words,
这样的一个组织。
not like he
ISKCON
was a separatist wishing
那么
to
换
go his
换
own
言之，
way.
他并不是一
He was
个
wishing to integrate. He kept trying
并不
to
是一个分
encourage,
离主
even
义
when he
者。
came to America, let's work together, and they didn't want to
他
work
当时甚
together.
至到了美国的时候，仍
They
然
already
就
had
呼
their
吁
own idea
高迪亚
of,
玛特
they
能
had
够
their
合
little
作起来，
fiefdom, and they wanted to rule their fiefdom. He tried.
他
The
其实尝试了
correspondence is
想去联合大家，
abundant,
但是
showing
没有
his
成功。
efforts. But it was broken
但是他做出了努
beyond
力，
repair. And so,
但是
ISKCON.
情形却没有改善，所以他 才开办了 ISKCON，
bearing the hallmark of Bhaktisiddhanta's work
但
and
他
his
承载了
mission,
所有巴基斯坦
and
他的这个
therefore
话
this
语
term
以及
founder
他的
Acharya.
他的
Now,
这个
in
他
the
的使命，
book, as
并
well
且
as
接受
a
了这
little
样的一
bit
个
in
头
the
衔，
PDF,
这个创办灵性导师的这样的一
you
个
get
这个
this
书。
understanding that Prabhupada had learned a lesson
那么我们要得到这样一个理解，就是
from
Prabhupada 学到了
the super powerful Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, who had gathered
就
together
从巴基斯坦
very powerful
强有力的
persons
这个
who were ambitious.
人物那里，
Whoops. And because they were ambitious, they couldn't work together.
那么当时这个高迪亚玛特人，他们当然是充满了野心，但
Seeing
是由
that
于他
he
们每个人充满了
instructed
野心，
them,
但是他
he
们就
didn't do it himself.
没有办法
He
合作。
instructed them to form a governing body commission. After his departure, there wouldn't be a successor Acharya, which was the convention.
那么
He
就是
rather than appoint
爸
a
学到了一个
successor
教诲，就
Acharya,
是
the
那么在他
successor
离开
Acharya
这个世界之后呢，不
was
会将有
the
一个
governing
继
body
任的一个
commission, which
某
they
个
didn't
个人
form
来去继承这个
because they
组织，
wanted
而
to
是
have
有一
things
个
their
这
own
样
way.
的联合的一个团体，
And
就像
it fell
GBC
apart.
来去进行管理，而
These,
这样
you
不
know,
会导致这个
the
机构
strength,
的
the
分崩离
vigor
析。
of the horsepower of Bhaktisiddhanta's presence. In his absence, the
那么
horsepower
当时
went
在巴
away.
基斯坦，他
The preaching
在临在的时候，这个
subsided
力量是在那里，但他离世之后，
enormously.
这个
The
力量就
vigor
立
of
刻的
Bhaktisiddhanta's
就
preaching
是
was
逐渐的
expansive,
消失了。
expansive. And it just came to a screeching halt, not just like slowed down, fractured and broken. So Prabhupada didn't want that.
所以
So
帕帕不
early
希
he
望这个
established the
随着
GBC as
随着他的离开
explicitly,
将会导致
this
机构的瓦
GBC
解，
will
所以
succeed me. I just was listening
他
to a
在之前
lecture
就创立了 GBC。
this morning from 1973 in Geneva,
那我今天早上才听到这样一
and
个，就
Prabhupada was
是
explaining the function of
那帕帕
GBC.
当时就在讲述
It's
GBC
very
的功能是
interesting
什
the
么。
way he was doing it. He was saying that
那么帕
you
帕这
know,
样讲是
during
非常有意
Maharaj
思的。
Yudhishthira's time, because we was discussing from Canto
在
1, Chapter 10,
Yudish
he was the emperor.
Maharaj 的时候，这是
There
在
are
第
many
10篇当中
kings,
的内容。
but he
他
was
当
the
时是
emperor.
帝王，有很多小的国
So
王，但
as
是
he was the
Yudhishthira
emperor,
王
and
是帝
I'm the
王。
emperor of ISKCON,
那
and
帕帕就说
the
我是这个
GBC is the
ISKCON 的
next
帝王，
emperor.
而 GBC 呢，则是下一个
That's
这个帝王。
1973.
这
I
是
mean,
在
that's
1973
what he
年帕帕的
wanted
讲课
because he saw
讲
what
述的
happened
这个
with
GBC，
Gaudiya Math. He didn't
因为
want
这是
that to
帕帕
happen.
希望发生的事情，他不希
So
望
you'll
在高
read,
迪亚玛特身上发
it's
生
in the
的
PDF, but you'll
历史
also
再去
read
重演。
Prabhupada insisted at a certain
所以
point in time.
帕帕非
I
常
remember
的
very
非常
clearly.
的坚持，尤其
Every
是在
letterhead,
一段时间，
everything
他
that
在
said
每一封信
ISKCON
中，
had to have founder
他都说
Acharya,
到，
His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami.
他说
Every
在
publication,
每个
every sign,
ISKCON 的这个
every
出版物中都
flyer,
要写上
everything,
每
every
一
mantra
个
card,
小
every
册子上
everything,
面都小卡片上都要印上
founder
这个
Acharya.
AC Bhaktivedanta
You know, he wanted
是这个创
indelibly
办灵性导师
impressed
Founder Acarya， 所以
because
他
he
希
didn't
望
want the debacle that happened to Gaudiya Math. He didn't want his work
他不希
and
望当
the
时
work of the
在
previous
高迪亚玛特身
Acharyas
上发生
to
的事
boot
情会重演。
just get washed away by leadership in his absence. Into
那不
falling
希望
apart.
在他离开的时候，这个领导力就分崩离析了。
So there's another document amongst the
那么
PDFs
这里还有
that you
另外一
have
个
that
PDF 一个文件，
indicate,
则是讲述了
well, it's titled Prediction of
是一
Srila
个预
Prabhupada
言，
as the
就是
Yuga Acharya.
预言
Now,
帕
where,
帕
this,
将
where
作为
this
这个年代
came
的
from
Acarya
is a
Yoga
godbrother
Acarya
sent
将
it
会
to
出
me,
现的这样的一个
and I
预言。
was very attracted to the message
那么
that's
当时一
here.
个人发给我，
And
那我对这个
many of it,
特别
much of it is
印象深
scriptural
刻，
from different
里边
scriptural
引述
sources
了许
about
多
there
经典中
being
的
such
引述，
an acharya in
都
this age of
预言
Kali.
了在
Ramanuja
卡利年代
Acharya
将
writes
会
about it,
有这样的一
etc.
个
What
Acarya
not
出现。
Sri
比如说
Nam
像
Alvar
Ramanuja
writes
Acarya，
about it. Two other of
所有
the
的 Acarya 都写到这个，所有
Alvars
的这
write
些
about
经典
it.
中
But
也
you
都
know,
写
it's a
到了
person who will
这一点，
propagate the holy name all over the world.
讲到了
And
会
been
有一个人
predicting it's
去
going to
将圣
happen.
名传遍全世界。
And
这一
one
切
of
都
my
是
favorite ones
真正的
It's
发生
on
了的。
page 2 when you get a
那么
chance to
我
take a
特
look
别
at
喜
this.
欢的是其中的一页，
This is
是在第2页上讲的。
spoken by, or it's an interview of
那么这是一个采访，
Nayananda Das Babaji. I don't know who
是
that person is.
Nayananda Das Baba，
Apparently, the godbrother of Srila Prabhupada or
那是
disciple of
Prabhupada 的一个神兄弟，
Bhaktisiddhanta, and he's describing the
Bhaktisiddhanta 的一个
situation where
门
they're
徒，
in Mayapur doing Navadvip Mandal
他
Parikrama.
当时在
They're
玛雅普
visiting the
进
holy
行这
places
个
of
绕拜
Mahaprabhu
的
in
时候，
Mayapur. And a large gathering,
那当时有很大
I'll
的
just
会众
read.。
那么我们简单的读一
Bhaktisiddhanta
下，
lectured to a crowd that
巴基斯坦他
had
当时对
assembled for a parikrama.
绕拜的这些会众们就
Guru
说道，
Maharaj was looking out at the large crowd of devotees.
那当时 Guru
Then he
Maharaj 就
turned
看
his
着所
head
有的
toward
奉
the
献者
left，side where I
那
was
接着他把头
standing.
偏向
He
左
was
边，
looking intently at someone behind me and became
那么当时
silent
呢，
for
他
a
就看到我
long
身后的一个
time.
人，
I
看了很
turned
久，
and
那我
saw
转过
that the
身后
person
就发
with
现那
whom
个
he
人
was
是
making eye contact was Abhay
他就是 Guru Maharaj
Charanaravinda
看盯着的
Prabhu.
人
That
是
was
当时
Prabhupada's
Srila
initiated
Prabhupada，
name. Abhay Charan
那当
became
时是 Prabhupada 之
Abhay
前的这个 Abhay Charan 的这
Charanaravinda.
Charanaravinda 的这样的
I have a
原初的
prediction,
名字。那
Bhaktisiddhanta
当时
announced.
巴基斯
However
坦他说到，
long
我有一个
in the
预
future it
见，
may be, one of my
那不
disciples
管
will
将来需
cross
要
the
多久时
ocean,
间，
that
但我的
devotee
门徒呢
will
将会
bring
漂洋过海，
back the whole world.
并且这个奉献者将会将整个世
One of
界
my favorites.
拯救。
So there's many other scriptural indications indicating it was just,
那么
somebody had to fill
还
that
有很
spot
多的这个经典中
because it was predicted and predicted
都
and predicted and predicted.
都预言了这一点发生，
So Prabhupada acted
所以 Prabhupada
in that capacity.
就是以这样的一种能
The
力，
Yuga
他去行动，
Acharya, founder
作为
Acharya,
Yoga
Yuga
Acharya
Acharya,
年代的
and
Acharya 以及创办理性导师 Founder Acharya 这样的身份去行动，
very humble and very gifted and very dedicated.
而且他非
Here's
常的
some
谦卑，
a
非常的
painting you probably have seen before. This is
非常
Bhaktisiddhanta
的
on a rooftop in Calcutta,
那么
where
你们会看到这个图，就是
Srila
巴基斯坦
Prabhupada,
他
as
在
a young
加尔
college
各答的这
man,
个
married
地
and with a
上，那
child,
当时
but
帕帕还是
meeting
个年轻的
Bhaktisiddhanta for the
大
first
学毕业
time
生，然后刚结婚，
without all
他
the
第一次
history.
见到巴
It's
基斯
in
坦。
Lilamrita.
那么这个是在
And
Lila
the
Marita，
first time they met, there's
那么他们第一
Bhaktisiddhanta
次见
looking
到的时
directly at
候，
Prabhupada, instructing him to, you're skilled in English. First time you meet, go to the West and preach the message of Chaitanya
那么当时
Mahaprabhu.
他就说到，就是你应当去西方去传播关于马哈帕布的这个讯息。
You know the history. At the end, Prabhupada asked a question, how is this possible?
那帕帕最后就问到一个问题，说
When
这怎么可能呢？
India is under British rule, who's going to take seriously the
印度
message of
现在还在
India
殖民，谁
outside of
会
India?
把印度人说的话
First,
当回事呢？
independence, and then we can do this.
首先我们要独立，
Prabhupada
然后我们
said,
再去传播。
Bhaktisiddhanta spoke for
但
20 minutes,
Bhaktisiddhanta 就说
responding to
就
that
说了
one point,
20分钟，
and I
回
was
答了这一点。
convinced.
然
And
后
then
帕帕说，我当时
another
就被他
occasion,
说服了。
Prabhupada said, as a young
在
man,
另
I
外一个
was
场
always
合，
good at
帕帕就
debate.
说到，他说
I
作
was
为
always
年
a
轻人，我
leader,
特别
and
擅
I
长
always won
这
debate.
个
This is the
辩论，
first time I was
而且我
defeated,
很
and
喜
I was
欢辩
happy to
论。
be defeated.
但是这是第一
I
次我
accepted
完全的
defeat.
被击
It's-
败
I
了。
considered as I was walking home. The
那他在
the
路上
message
就
of Lord
回家的
Chaitanya
时
is
候就
in
想
good
到，
hands.
就在思索着这个
And he wasn't thinking,
巴基
yeah,
斯
I'm
坦
the
他
one
的
that's
这个
going to
这个话
carry
语。
it forward. This is a photograph of that
那么
rooftop.
这是当时
Now
的
they
那个
built a
屋
nice
顶的
pavilion up at the top.
屋顶的这个原址。当然，它
And
现在
there's a
有
sitting
了
place for
建了一个很好
Bhaktisiddhanta
看的
sat,
构
and
筑物
in
在
the
上面。
assembly, Prabhupada was there.
那么当时就是巴基斯
1922,
坦他坐在那里，还有
the
帕帕和
Prabhupada was
会众们都
young,
坐在那里。
newly
他当时
married,
1922年，帕帕是很
still
年
in
轻的，
college.
他当时还
Fast
在大学。
forward another 30 years, and Srila Prabhupada
那么
had
在后面的30年，
left the Grihastha ashram. He had entered the Vanaprastha stage of his
那
life.
帕帕就离开了他的这个
And
居士生
in
涯，然后进入了 Vanaprastha 阶段。
1952,
在
he
1962
took
年的时候，
shelter of
他就
1956, the Vangsi
Hello.
Gopal Temple,
托庇于了这个
which is
Vamsi
a very
Gopal
small
神
place,
庙，是
very
非常小
right
的一个
near
神
to
庙，
Keshigat.
在
And
Kashigat 附
he
近。
went 2 years after leaving his home, and he left all
那
of
么他已
his
经离家2年
holdings
了，
and finance and everything with his sons
他把
to look
所有
after
的
the
这个财务
household
都
and his
交给了
wife
他的
and
儿子，
family
他的
business,
照顾他的
etc.,
妻子，照顾
etc.
家族事
He
业
had
等等。
nothing.
他自己现在
He
孑
had
然一身，
nothing.
什么都没有，什么都没有。
Financially, he had nothing. He had
那
the
财务上真的
empowerment of
是
Bhaktisiddhanta with him, but
一穷
as
二白。
far as resources and, he had nothing. So this Vangshi Gopal temple is a
所
nice
以这是
place.
Vamsi Gopal
You see
个
there's
庙
the
宇，
entrance
非
to the
常
temple.
美的一个
It's
地方。
actually a family residence,
这
and on
实
the
际上是
ground
一个
floor
一个家族住
of
在
a
这里。
wealthy person's home, they would
那么当
often
时
have a
有钱的
deity.
人呢，
Here's the
他们
deity
通常就
of
会
Vangshi
自己
Gopal,
设一个小的庙宇
Radha,
去崇拜神像。
Vangshi
这里就
Gopal.
是
And
这个
the
Radha
room
Vamsi
where
Gopal
Prabhupada
的这个
stayed
神像。
is right
那
here.
Papa 所待的这个房间就是
This
这
is
里，
where he
这这
started the
张照
Hare
片，
Krishna movement.
这就是整个
The
Hare Krishna
worldwide
运动的开始，
organization
整个世界
with
的世界级
paint
的这样
falling
的一
off the
个
walls
组
and
织，就是从这里开始的。
17 feet by 9 feet and
从
10
这个
foot
非常
tall
小的这
ceilings.
个17乘9的这样的一个
He
见
had
方
no
的
running
浴室的
water.
一个小
He had
房
no
间，而
toilet.
且
He
还
had
没
no
有自来
kitchen.
水，
He had no
也没
money.
有厨房，也没
He had
有
no
厕所，
he had no
他没有
followers. He
钱，
had
他也没有
nothing.
追随者。当时爬爬什么都没有，
To use the toilet, he had to walk down 18
他要
steps
为了上厕所都要下个18级台阶
to
到楼下去，
cook. He would often
然后
cook
呢
in his
去
room
烹
a
饪，
little kerosene cooker,
用他的这个小铜锅去
take his bath
去烹饪，
downstairs because the
然后
family
也
he
要
was
下
the,
楼去
the
洗澡。
the numbering he was on the upper floor. The family lived on the
那
floor below
Papa
him,
是
and the deity was on the
Papa
ground
是住
floor.
在顶层上的，然后第2层呢住的是这一
So
家
wherever
人，
he cooked, he
然
had to
后
go down and
神像
he
是在
went
第
down
1
and
层，
offered to the
所以
deity and
Papa 每
came
次都要
back up
下
and
楼，
honored
然后做
prasadam.
饭，然后供奉，然后再荣耀，
And
再上楼再荣耀菩萨的。
very humble, huh?
他非常的
Like
谦卑，
shockingly humble.
而且是非常令人
But
震惊的这样的一
he
种非
had
常
this
谦卑的这样的一
empowerment,
个
this
状态。
vision and
但是
mission,
他有这样的
and he
被
was
赋予了这
meant
样的
to
力量，
carry it
并
forward
且赋予了这样的誓
with
语，
nothing in his pocket, with no
就是 口袋里什
valuable
么都没
tangible
有，就
resources.
去开启这样的
3
一个运
years
动。
later, his
3年
godbrother,
之后，
pictured in the
他的
seated position here,
途中
Keshav
这个
Maharaj,
坐在
who
中间的是
who
这
was
个 Keshava
residing
Maharaj， 是
in
他的堂兄
Mathura.
弟。
Prabhupada was
他住
in
在 Mathura，
Vrindavan.
那 Papa 当时在
Keshav
文达文
Maharaj was in
，Keshava
Mathura.
Maharaj
He was in
在
charge
Mathura，
of
他当
the
时负
publication
责
of the Harmonist.
出
He
版这个
wanted
接着
Keshav
这个杂
Maharaj was
志。
also a very skilled
那么
writer.
Keshava
And he
Maharaj
wanted
也
Prabhupada's
是个非
help in
常
editing and
学术的
writing
这样的一
articles
个
for the Harmonist, etc.
也是非
So
常的
he
著
insisted,
名的一个
Prabhupada
作者，
said,
所以
he
他
insisted
邀请 Papa 也
that
来
he take
也来
sannyas because
协助他，
you're given this instruction by our Guru Maharaj, you must
因为他
become
是
a sannyasi.
那么他就说
And
到，
he
因
wasn't
为
feeling
Guru
fit and
Maharaj 给了你
qualified,
训
but
示，你必
he
须要
took
成为
sannyas
Sannyasi， 所以
from
Papa
Keshav
就
Maharaj
从他那
in
从
Mathura.
Keshava Maharaj 那里，在这个 Mathura 接触了 Sannyas 这个阶层。
1959, in
那
1960
么在
was
1959
the
年，
first
在1960
book that
年，
he
则
wrote
是他出版了，他写了第
while
一本
because
小
he's
书。
already started doing his
当时他已经
Bhaktivedanta
开始
purports for Canto 1,
去
Srimad Bhagavatam.
去给博伽瓦坛开始写他的 Bhaktivedanta 的要旨。
I bet that child has a mother. See you later. Maybe a few years later.
那么现场有个小朋友
Okay.
发出了一些这个声音，所以
He
Guru Maharaj
wrote this,
中断了一会儿。
when space
那么当
exploration,
时
just so
Papa
what's going on in the world, space exploration has started. So he
那么
took
当
that
时整个世界
that
正
focus
处在
of
军备
interest
竞
and
赛的
wrote
状态，
something about
宇
space
宙的这样的一个
exploration, easy
太空
journey to
竞
other
赛啊，这样的
planets.
太空
He
战
didn't
等
have
等。
money.
但 Papa 当
So
时
the
没有
book
钱，
didn't get
他当时写了
published.
这本小书， 所以这本书
But
其
he
实当
sent
时没有
parts
立
of
刻
the
出版，
book
但他当
to
时写了这本
others
书，
to print in their publications. They
但
liked
他
it
把
so
这个文
much,
章就
they
给
insisted
了
that he
别
get the
的
money together and
呃
print. So he
别的这
printed
个杂志社，让他们非
fall of
常喜欢，
1960.
他们出版了，但是他们就说
Now, some of you
认为
know
这本
that
小
I've
书应
been
当出版出来。
kind of enthused and speaking a lot about the next book that Prabhupada wrote.
那么我非
The
常
next
的
book
有
that
很大的
Prabhupada
热
wrote
情，
in
想去讲接下来帕
1961.
帕所撰写的书，是帕帕在1961
You
年
all
所
know.
撰写的。你们大家都知道这本书
I
是
have
什
a
么，
copy here. I was
而且这里也有
one of
些
my
这本
godbrothers
书的
was
附本。
asking me, "Hey, what's happening?" They told him what's happening with this, and he said, "Oh, I've got some extra copies. If you'd like, I can send them to you."
那么当时我的
So
沈兄弟问我
he
我在
sent
做
them.
什么事，我告诉
I
他之
don't
后，
know
他
if
说
they
他有
arrived
这些
yet.
有这些这个
They didn't arrive
国
yet.
家梵之光的这种小书，
Let's see if they arrive.
所以
If they arrive, we'll make them available.
所以我也一
So
并带来了。
in January 1961,
所以在1961年的1月，
Srila Prabhupada received a little flyer. Many of you
是
have
的
heard this
Papa 当时接
16
到一个
times,
小
but
的一个册子，
he received a flyer or a pamphlet, some brochure, some promotion of an event in Japan.
是当
You heard
时
this one yet?
在这个萧条为
You've
了
heard
振
this
作当
already?
时萧条的日本的这样的一个
Yes?
一个宣传
Okay.
册子，你们
Me
已经
too.
听到这一切了吗？那我也听闻了这些信息，
Because at this time he was also writing his Back to Godhead
因为在这个
magazine,
时候呢，
following
他
the
当时也在
footsteps of
撰写这个
Bhaktisiddhanta.
回
He
归
was
伸手的
making
杂志，
articles
去
for
追
the
随
harmonists, but he was
Bhaktisiddhanta 的
writing his
这
Back
个
to Godhead magazine.
脚步。
You know, practicing and
那么
expressing
当时他也在协助和谐者
inspiring Krishna
这
conscious
个杂
view
志
of，Vedic
但是他也在
picture
出
of
版
the
这个
world
回
that
归
we
伸
live
手杂
in.
志。
Anyway, the brochure was promoting an event,
那么当时这
cultivation of the
是
human spirit. So
日本的这
Prabhupada
个
wrote a letter
共建和谐
proposing
大
I
会
could be
的
a
人类
speaker
和
for
谐
this event.
大会的这样的一个
And the
册子
title
宣
of
传册。
the speech would be, How should
呃
one cultivate human
Papa 就
spirit?
回
Question
信
mark.
就说，那
And he
么
wrote, it's a copy of that correspondence. And then the gentleman, the
他撰
organizer,
写的
wrote
这
back
个这个讲
basically a
演讲
letter
的
of
主题将
invitation that
是
was sufficient to
怎样去
get
培养人
a
类的精神。
visa to go to Japan.
但是当时呢，他就是得到了与会方的
Now
这个
his
主办
mission
方的这
from
个回
Bhaktisiddhanta
信，
was go to the
获得了这个
English-speaking
visa。
parts of the world, and
那当然，
you know,
巴西丹他
the
是让他
brochure
去到
was in
说
English.
英文的地方。
Otherwise, if you put it in Japanese and send it to Delhi, who's going to be able to read it? So English-speaking people in Japan.
所以当时他
And you
是
know,
去
so he
针
went.
对那
But he
这个
he
在
didn't
日
he
本说
didn't
英文
go.
的人，因为
But
他如果
he
用
was
日文出版
he
的
was
话，那
enthusiastic
加
to
拿大
go
人也听不
because
懂，
he
所以
was a
他是面
visionary,
向
and he
在
wanted
日
the
本的这个
world
说英文的人。那
to
当时他是有这样的视域的，
become free from the darkness of ignorance of this age of Kali,
就
and
希望
so
将整个
he
世界
produced
从
this book,
卡利
Light
的
of
这
the
种愚昧的
Bhagavad.
黑暗中解救出来。
Here's from the letter that he wrote
那么
to
这
the
是从他写的
organizer.
对
I
这个
captured this
会
because
议
I
的
thought
组织者
it
所
would
写的
help
信
us
中摘出来的
understand
部分。
our founder Acarya was a world Acarya from that little tiny room.
所以就是我们
I
要知
wish
道，
to
就是我们
impress the
我们的
public
创办领导
delegates
师
who
就是
would
从
internationally join the conference for
开始的这个运动。
culture and
那么
human
Papa 就写
spirit
到，
in Japan
我想要
about the
去让
necessity
这
of an
个大
international
众
movement.
能够
He had
就是
nothing.
国际范围内结合起来，就联合
He
起来
couldn't afford to print the book. He couldn't afford to get on a plane and go to
来
Japan.
去这
But
个
he's
参加这样
envisioning
的
the
人类文
necessity
化
of an
的这样精
international
神的，
movement.
在日本的这样的一个会议，
Kindly, therefore, do the needful immediately and
旨在
give me
这
a
个
chance to speak
发展一
to
个
the
国际性的运
enlightened
动，
people of the
并
world
且意识到这个必要性，
the
所以
message
请
of
仁慈
human
的
culture
去做一些
from the
必
Vedic
要的安排，
literature.
给我一个
I
机
am
会，能
sure
够
that such
让我
news will
对
change the
社
angle of
这
vision
个
of
世
the
界上的
world's
这些
activities.
这些有这个
He's this
有知识的人们去传递这样的讯
sannyasi
息，传递
living
这
in a
个
little
伟大
room
经典中的人类文化的信息。
with
我
nothing.
确信，
And he
那么
wants
这样的
to
信
change
息
the
将会
angle
去
of
改变整个
vision of
世
the
界的
world's
活动的
activities.
这个视角。那么他当时只是桑加西一穷
He
二白，
had
什么都没
all
有，但是他却有
conviction.
这样的视域。
in
而且有完全的
the
信
holy
信
name
心，
and all conviction in Srimad Bhagavatam. And
就
so
是
he labeled
圣
it,
名和
titled
圣
it
典波加
Light of
瓦
the
坛，
Bhagavad.
所以
There's a
他
lot
才
to
撰
say.
写
I
了
won't
这个
give the whole seminar all
波
over
加瓦
again.
坛之光，
But
巴
I
格瓦提
wanted
之
to
光。
draw some passages from
我想
the
从这
book,
个这本书巴格瓦特之
it
光中
just
摘出一
the
些段
context.
落。
This is, I've given this presentation tomorrow morning at
那么
5:30. I'm going to do another one,
我明天
part
在5点半呢
whatever it
会
is, part
给另外一
3,
个这样的
Nandimuki, part
一
3
个
tomorrow morning.
一个讲
Part
座。
3.
那么在第三堂讲座中将会讲述
The mastery, my appreciation has grown. The
那
mastery
么
of
我对
Srila
帕布帕的
Prabhupada
这样的就是
in his
这种
skill,
大
his
师的技艺
gift from
非常
Krishna
的
of writing
惊
is
叹不已，
he took what he understood
他
the
能够
audience to have some appreciation for nature,
他能够理解
scenes of
他的这个
nature,
面向的
and
观
learning
众对
lessons of
自然
life
有些欣赏之
through
情，
nature.
而且能
The
够从
Far
大自然
East
中去学习一些
audience.
教诲。
That was
那么
his,
这是东方的这些观
impression
众
at
们
least.
是这样，
And so he
最起
took
码是他
the
对东方观
chapter
众的印象。
from
所以
Canto
他
10,
摘
Chapter
自了
20, which is scenes of
从这个
nature in
博加瓦坛第
Vrindavan
10篇中摘取了这些
during
描
the
绘
rainy
自然
season and the
景象
autumn
的这些
season that
时
follows the
节。
rainy season.
比如说，在这
Largely,
个秋
that's
季
what
之
the
后
chapter
是
is.
这
There's
个
some
雨
other
季之
things.
后的秋季
And
等等，
just
里面
little
有自然的
phrases
种种描述，
and then lessons of life.
而且他就从中用这些短小的这
And
些
in his appeal,
这些大
again
自
and
然的描
again,
述，就是引述了
he
这
was
些教诲。
appealing that those
那么
who
不
are
断的，
wise, because he's
他
envisioned
都
these
在
are,
呼吁着
you
那
know,
些明智的人们
forward-thinking, enlightened people,
能够
at least to some extent, enlightened. And he wants to give them the Vedic vision. He wants them to
那
go
帕帕希
out
望
and
给到
help
这些启
bring
明的
light
大
into
众，
the
能够给
world.
他们一个
It's very clear.
一个
He
事业，
wants to unite them all, working together under the
去
banner of
联合所有的这些
the Srimad
这些开明
Bhagavatam.
人士，
Very, very powerful,
来
very
去
ambitious, very bold,
去
very
阅
expert.
读
So
这个圣
here's
典博加瓦坛，
some of the
所以他非
paintings
常
and
大
some of
胆。
the message.
那么这
Mindful of
是
the
书中
theme
的一些
of
插
the
图和
event in
传递的
Japan,
讯息。
Congress for the Cultivation of Human Spirit.
那么当
Well,
时
that could
在
mean
日
almost
本的这
anything.
个主题呢，是
But
讲
he
的就
wanted to
是
give
人类
shape
精
to it.
神共建大会。
Sages of the world who
那
believe
帕
in
帕
the
就写
Supreme
到这些
must come
世界
out
上的
of their secluded places
相信这个至
and
尊存
distribute
在
their
的圣者们，
wisdom
必
to
须
the
要
people
从
in
他们的这
general.
些
That
偏
he's
僻的地
writing to
方、
them, but he's doing it himself.
独居的地方出来，然后去传递、派发他
There's
们
a
的
little
智
image
慧
of，somebody
向
living in a
人民
cave.
大众
Come
去
on out
派
of your
发这样的智
cave,
慧。
man, and give light to the world, to
那么就
distribute
从
your
这个山洞里
wisdom
面
to the
出来，
people in general.
去向
Another
人民大
passage,
众去传递这样超人
responsible
的讯
leaders
息。
from all backgrounds
那帕帕就说到
must
了
form
来
a
自各
common
个背景的
platform,
这些
a league of
负责任的领
devotees.
袖们，
The League of Devotees was the name of the
应当去建立
entity
一个
that
奉献
Bhakti,
者
that
联盟。
Prabhupada had established in a
那
written
么这是帕
document
帕在这个
before he
以
came to the
书面
West.
文
And then
件
he became
在
International Society for Krishna
去这个西
Consciousness.
方之
But
前
the
就确立了
concept
这样
is
一个奉献者
very
联盟的这样的一
similar.
个组织。
League of Devotees. Everybody
奉
unite
献者联盟就说
from
到
all
我们
backgrounds.
叫
Unite
联合所有的奉献者，
what? To uplift
联合
the
所有背景
spiritual
下的人，
values of mankind. And so his conviction
去提
is
升整
in
个
the
人类的
Bhagavad
这种灵性的价值。
message, and he wants to
所
spread
以
it.
这是博加瓦坛的
And
这个
he's
价值
ready to
观。
spread
那
it.
帕帕想要去传递
The most
传播这
intelligent
样的
class of men
价
who
值
have
观。
perfectly attained knowledge
那么
in
人中最
spiritual values
最
are called the
最
Brahmanas.
聪慧的人
No
们，
society can improve
那么已
in
经获得了这
transcendental
样灵
knowledge
性价值的
without the
知识，
guidance of
被
such
称为
first
婆罗门。
class men.
社会
Now, these are
必须
messages
要有
taken
这样的一
directly
流的人
from the book. The
的引导，才
illustrations
能
are
够
not
在超人的
Prabhupada.
知识上
This
有
one
所
isn't.
进步。
And one more.
那么
Men
还有
in the
另外一
mode
个
of
信息，就是
goodness
说到
have an
处在善良
introspective
心态中
mind.
的人有一个内省的
He
心意。
took that phrase and used it again and again.
那帕帕不断的使用这个内省
It's
的
a
内省
phrase
之
of
人的这个。
Bhaktisiddhanta.
那么实际上这是巴克西丹他的话语。
And after a regulative struggle
而在
for
这个
existence, they
挣扎求
retire
存
at a
一
ripe
段时
old
间之
age and
后，
engage
他
their
们会
time
在
in
成熟的
cultivating the
年
human
纪
spirit.
去退
So in
休，
various
而
ways,
且将
he's
他们的时间
encouraging
用于
persons to be more
培养
thoughtful
人类
and
的
then
精
to
神。
carry that message of thoughtfulness to the world.
所以帕帕非常谨慎的把这个
Notice the
讯息
date
呈
at the
现出来，呈
bottom,
现给世界。
1962.
那么注意
This
这个时
Light
间
of the
是在
Bhagavad was
1962
completed in
年，
1962.
是
Meanwhile, Prabhupada
就在这个
simultaneously
时候
was working on the
巴格瓦
Back to
特之
Godhead
光就在
magazine
那个时候成熟。
and working on the
那么同时，他还在
Srimad
出版
Bhagavatam, Canto 1,
这个
Part 1.
回归神手
which was
杂志，同
published.
时也在
And this
在
phrase
筹
I
备
took is from his the
国家瓦
preface,
坛第一篇。
making very clear Prabhupada's mission and his vision. Even
所
at
以
this
这点
early
就非
stage, he
常
hasn't gotten
清
out
晰
a
的呈
boat.
现了帕帕的
He doesn't
这
have
个使命和
anything.
他的视野。
He has a vision and a mission.
帕帕有一个视野，
That
并且
literature,
有一
which is
个
full of descriptions of
使
the
命。
transcendental glories of the name, fame,
那帕帕
form,
写
and
到，
pastimes of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of
关于至尊主
transcendental
的这个无
words
穷尽的这些文献
I put
文
in
献
big
当中
letters,
包含了所有
directed
关于至尊主
toward
的超然的
bringing about a
名声、
revolution in the
形
impious
象和逍遥
lives
时光的描
of
述，
this world's
充满了超
misdirected
然的话语，
civilization. Now, this
实
is
在
this
是
is in when the
在
Bhagavatam was
这个
printed.
被
This was in the introduction
充满误导
for
的这种
every
文
single
化中的
volume. He's
这个
he's
世界
like
掀起一场革命。
declaring it boldly. This
所以帕帕
literature
当
is
时
meant
其实
to
是
bring
非常大
about
胆的
a
宣称
revolution.
这一点，说要掀起一场革
So
命。
he's a quiet revolutionary, but he was
所以帕帕实
revolutionary.
在真的是一个革命家、
Now, there have
革
been
命者。
revolutions in the world that weren't so quiet. And
那么当
generally,
时
the
还没
people
有
that
还
led
没有这样的革命，
revolutions, they were good at writing too, but they had another system for bringing about the revolution than simply publication, bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of the. So he wants to give
但
proper
帕帕不光
direction.
是个
He's
革命
the
者，他非常的擅长写
Brahmana
作。
that he spoke about. He's the sage. He's the
那
Acharya.
帕帕
He
讲
is the
到了这个
founder
Brahmana，
Acharya.
讲到了这些圣者，那他自己呢，则是这个创办灵性导师，是伊斯康的创办灵性导师。
Now, something that Prabhupada wrote
那这帕
is
帕
in
写
the
的
future there may be
说
many
到在将来
acharyas,
会有
but
许
there
多的
can
Acarya，
only be one founder acharya of ISKCON.
在伊斯康只有一位创办灵性导师，方
The
大 Acarya。
next to the last slide, the last slide is just a picture of Prabhupada. But I wanted to read
那么
something
这是
from
我
one of the
呈现的最后一
PDFs.
张幻灯片，但我还想呈现一些这个
Recording in
PDF 中的这
progress.
些资料当中的内容。
It's the one-page PDF
这
entitled
是只有1页的
Inspiring
这样的一个
Excerpts
PDF
from the Founder Acharya book. So when
是
you get a
从这
chance, you
个
can
创办灵
check
性
it
导
out.
师这本小书
The
中摘出
last
来的一些非常
little section
鼓舞人心的片段。
is drawn from a letter that Prabhupada wrote
那么最后一
to
部
a
分是摘自
disciple,
帕帕写给他的一个
Prabhu.
门
I
徒的一
don't
个
know
信，
him.
写给这个
In
Prabhu
December
门徒的信，当然我
1973.
不太认识他，这是在1973年12月写的。
Now
那帕帕写
we
到
have,
给
by
他门徒
Krishna's
写道，
grace, built up
那么
something
现在
significant
我们凭借
in
奎
the
师那的仁
shape of
慈，已
this
经建立了
ISKCON,
这个伊斯康的这个
and
形
we
态，
are
出现了
all
这
one
些
family.
非常不寻常的、非凡的这样的一个
Sometimes
建立了这
there
样的一
may
个事
be
业。
disagreement
但是我们是一个家
and
庭，
quarrel,
那
but
么
we
有的
should
时
not
候
go away.
在同一个家族中会出
These
现一些不和
inebrities
和
can
纷
be
争，但是我们不应
adjusted
当就跑掉。那么这些
by
这
the
些
cooperative spirit,
混乱的形象、混乱的
tolerance,
现
and
象是可
maturity.
以通过合作的
So
精
I
神来去
request you to
和
kindly
容忍
remain
和
in the
成熟去调解的。
association
所以
of
我
our
请求
devotees
你们能够仁慈的
and work
留在这
together.
样的你们的
So this
奉
was
献者的联
written
谊当中，
just after two
并
prominent
且一起
persons
一
in
起努
ISKCON
力
had。left ISKCON. So Prabhupada is making this
这是
appeal.
对我们的灵性导师的这个
The test of our actual dedication and sincerity
我们真
to
正的面
serve
临
the
的这种考
spiritual
验，
master
对我们的这个
will be
忠诚，对灵性导师的这种
in
真诚
this
的
mutual cooperative
这
spirit
种
to
服务
push
的这种真
on
诚的
this movement and not make factions
真诚之心，
and deviate.
将会以这样的一种互相合作的精神展现出来，
No.
能够去推动我们的运动，
That's
而
what
不是
happened
去
to the
偏离
Gaudiya
它
Math.，
并且让它或者说分裂它。所以这是帕帕所写的。 写了一封信。
And it happened during Prabhupada's time. And it's
那
happened
么当
since
时
Prabhupada's time. And
当时这些事
because
情就
the,
发
the,
生在
the,
帕帕
the
的所在的时
occasion
期，
is
并且在帕帕离开之后也有发生。
a Vyasa Puja event. I'll remind all of you that something that you already know. When
那么
something
我要
that
提醒大
Prabhupada
家，
didn't
所
do,
有你们都已经知道的，
I've begun doing.
就是帕帕预
Along
言
with when
预见的。
initiation takes place, there's usually 2 vows, how many rounds, and following the 4 regular principles.
那么在起
My
的时候会有
request is
誓言，
to
履
follow
行
Prabhupada's
规范原
teachings for
则，
the rest of your
念诵
life.
16圈。那么还有一点就
Now
是
there are
说，
persons who
余
have
生去
stopped
遵
doing
循
that.
帕布帕的教导。但是有
And it's
人
not
呢就
just,
后面
you
中
know,
断了这么做。
someplace in some remote place. There, it happens.
那么这样的事
It
就是中断
happened
接受帕
even
帕的教导，的确
recently,
是会发生
and
的，
it
尤
was
其在一
quite
些偏远的地方。
disturbing.
那么当发生的时候呢，这
And
件
as
事情是非常
ISKCON
的
goes on, it can
非常的
happen
令人困
further
扰。
because, the fading Acarya
那么
principle.
将来在
You
ISKCON
know that one,
还
right?
会继续发生，
I'll
你
do
们
it
会知道，
quickly.
就是那么 Acarya 将
I
会
probably should
随着
have
时
that
间逐
slide.
渐的这个形象被磨灭掉。
Anyway,
那么会很快的来讲述这个。
again, coming from this is just a little short history. Coming
这
from
只是我
the
们的一个
GBC
很短的一
Strategic
个历史。
Planning Committee, there was
在
a
这个 GBC 之前
a
呢，
group of persons that were working together on structures to help secure
当时有一组
ISKCON
人
going forward in
去
time.
来去确保这个
And
ISKCON
one of the
随着时间的
devotees,
发展，能够确保
Gaura
他的这
Shakti,
个。
Gaura Krishna,
当
she
时
knows
在这
because
小
she
组
helped me
成
with
员当
this
中有个
before.
叫 Gaura
Gaura Krishna is
Krishna
the
这样一个
in
奉献
charge
者
of。the BBT in Russia, and
当时
just
他在
kind
负
of on
责
the side,
BBT
he's
的
a
俄国 BBT
semi-genius.
的工作。
So he volunteered to do a little research, and it ended up being
所以
like
他
a
当时
PhD
自
thesis,
愿
where he
想做
did
一个调查，
thorough study of the history of religions
他
from
研究
way
了所
back,
有的这个历史上的
and
这些很多的这些宗教组织
details,
的历
details,
史，
details, details of
许多的细节。
which religions succeeded in enduring,
他
and
就
which ones failed, and why.
他研究了哪些这个宗教组织
And in
随着
short,
时间
the ones that
成功了，
succeeded
随着时
is
间有的哪
when
些
the
组织随着时间
originator
失败了。
made emphasis on their teachings,
那么
and
他
the
就研究到这
followers
个
followed the emphasis that he
如果
made
创
upon their
办者
teachings. Without the details, there's
强
so
调
many
他的这个
details.
教导，并且追随者也去遵循
So
他的教
during
导，
Prabhupada's presence,
这
he
是
is
成功的案
insisting,
例。
Founder
那么，所以
Acarya
当帕帕所在的
of
时
the
候，帕帕
International
一直在
Society for
强
Krishna
调这个
Consciousness
创
and
办灵性导
making
师，
strong emphasis on his books, printing
而
his
且帕帕
books,
总在强调他的
distributing his
书，
books,
强调去
more and more
印刷他
books,
的
and
书，
reading his
派发他的
books.
书，
Just this morning,
而且去要求大家
again,
去阅读
folks
这些
in
书。
Geneva, he said, we now have,
那我今天早上就
we're
听到
speaking
帕
on
帕的
one
讲
verse
课，
this morning. And there, how many, and he asked somebody, how many books and how many volumes and how many pages? At that time, there's something like 6 volumes of Srimad Bhagavatam available
那么那个时候可能就
And
是
you
6
could
册的
read
国家瓦
these
堂被出版出来，
for your lifetime and still not finish.
而且帕帕
So
终
it
其一
was
生他
like
还没有。
giving emphasis in
完结这个。
1973.
那么当时，但是帕帕
So
在
here's this
这
also
个
this letter
1973年就开始
was
强调这些，
1973. I
所
don't
以
know
这个
chrono.
信
This
息
was December
也是来自1973年的这个
1973. Anyway,
一封信。
during Prabhupada's presence, there was his
那么
books.
在帕帕还临在
There
的
was
时候，有
Prabhupada.
他的书，
There were those who he
帕帕
was
本人
directly instructing and training and
Papa
guiding,
直接
leaders.
去训练
And then
去
there's
引
everybody
导的门
else.
徒。
After
还有一
some
些别
time,
的。
Prabhupada left.
但是过了一段时间，帕帕离
But
开了这个世
There's
界，
books, and then
他的
there's
书还
those
在，
who Prabhupada personally trained.
还有帕帕
And
亲
then
自
there's everybody
训练的
else.
这些人，还有一些其他的
Then
人。
after some time, those
再
who
过一段
Prabhupada
时间呢，
directly trained and
那
had
那些帕帕
direct
直接
first-hand
训练的人，
experience of being, what was it
他
like?
有了第一手
Da-da-da-da-da.
这样的跟帕帕的
They're
这种
going to
经
be
验的
gone.
这样的人，他们也离开这个世界
So
了。
what's going to hold ISKCON together?
所以，
What's going to
那么这个时候是什么
we
能够凝
that
聚
we
伊斯康的？
understand that Prabhupada is the founder of Acarya, and
那么我们明
what
白，
does that
虽然
mean?
帕帕是创办灵性导
This
师，但
term
这意味着
founder
什么呢？
Acarya is in this PDF,
这个
and it's
创办灵
certainly
性
in the
导师的
book.
这个
The term founder
也
Acarya
在这个
is
小册子里面。
means
创办灵性导师，它
like
意味着 就像
Ramanujacharya.
就像
Everyone
Ramanujacharya，
following Ramanujacharya,
每个
the
人都
writings
追随
must be
Ramanujacharya。
in consistency with founder
那么底
Acharya.
下的人的撰写都必须要与这个
Madhvacharya. Many
Madhvacharya
great personalities
一致。
wrote following the line of Madhvacharya, etc.,
那
etc. So
Madhvacharya 他有
Prabhupada's
许多这个追随
accepting
者，
that
所以
term
他们都是
founder
创办理
Acharya
性
is
导
not
师。
just a nice name. He's
所
giving
以
something,
接
it's
受
very
这个创办理
strong
性导师，
title.
并不说只是一个
And
好听的头
in
衔，
the future,
而
there
是这
may
个
be many
头衔有
acharyas,
着
but
很
there can
重要
only
的这
one
个分
founder
量。
acharya of ISKCON.
那么将来会
But
有
being
很
part
多
of ISKCON is
Acharya，
that
但是
fidelity.
ISKCON 呢只有一位创办
Founder
理性导师，
to the founder,
创办者，
who is non-different than the institution, and the institution
而
is
且创办
non-different
者
than the
呢，
founder in
创办理性导师和
Nishikant
这个机构
Sanyal's
没有区别，
book.
也就是说 ISKCON 和 Papa 没有区别。
So it's not that we haven't heard these things,
所以这不是说我们没有听
but
过这些内容，
but
但是
history shows
历
if
史
there's
证
deviation from that principle, if
说，
it's not
如果我们
made
偏离了这样的一
clear
个
and strong, as I'm trying to do a
一
little
个
bit,
原则的话，
by encouraging people, not just not just the ISKCON disciple course,
那不光
or
是
here
ISKCON 的
in
这个门徒
Naperville,
课
what are the
程，
requirements for first initiation? My understanding is to read the Lamrita and take a little like
那么
exam that
我还
says,
知道在
you
这
read
个
it.
在我们现在所在的 Naperville 这
So
个地方，
I'm not
他们起一
suggesting that
是
reading this
他们有
book
一个
becomes a
要求是必
prerequisite,
须要
but
阅读这个要阅读
understanding its
这汉尼亚
contents
Chartamrita，
and understanding the mood, that the
那么不光是
preservation
这
of
些，我们
ISKCON,
要理
what
解
we
这个
have
ISKCON 保留的
is
这
given
种
to us
心
by
态
our
是什
founder
么？给
Acharya.
我们的创办理性导师给了我们的是什么？
Vyasa Puja should be honoring our
Vyasa
founder
Puja
Acharya.
应当是荣
Anything
耀
that
我们的
any
创
one
办
of
理
us
性导师。
have, take away Prabhupada from our life, and what do we have?
那么
Don't
如果
answer
把
that
帕帕
question.
从我们生命中删去，我们还有什么呢？我们什么都没有。
That's very important.
所以这点非
Prabhupada's
常重
position
要。
at the founder Acharya,
帕帕的
his
地位
books.
作为创办理性导师的位置是非常重要
It
的。
doesn't mean we can't
这并不意味
become
着
familiar with other books or have a regard and respect for other great personalities
并不意味着我们
aside
不
from our
能够阅
founder
读别的
Acharya,
书，不能够
certainly
去
within our
尊
disciplic
敬
line,
我们创
and
办理性
even
导师之外的理性导
in
师，
other
不是这样，
lines.
或者说别的
Just
师徒传
recently, I
系。
sent out
就在
a
最近，
little description, a little research. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 1, verse 10. Did you receive it? Some of you received it.
那么就
Check,
是
and
国
you
家
can read it.
梵歌的第一章第14节的一个
Baladev Vijayabhusan and
Baladeva
Vishwanath
Vidyabhusan
Chakravarti Thakur
和
were
Vishwanath
contemporaries.
Chakravarti Thakur，当时他们是
Vishwanath
同时代的
Chakravarti
人。
Thakur was
Vishwanath
elder,
Chakravarti
Baladev
Thakur
was junior
更年
in
长，
years.
巴拉巴更
They
年
each wrote
年
commentary
年
on
轻一些，
Bhagavad Gita, and
他们都给
in that one
这
verse,
个国家梵歌给了
the
给了评述。
explanation is diametrically
那对于同一个
180
世界，
degrees opposite.
他们给出的评述却有180度的这个截然不
No
同。
problem. And
没有
then
什么
there's a
问题。
little bit of description of who
而且有一
amongst
点
previous acharyas
就讲到
cited
了
this
在
side,
先前的
and some
Acarya，
other ones cited that side.
就说有些人可能更偏
And
向
the
这边，有
idea
人
is
偏向
not,
那边。
why am I bringing
但
this up?
是
It's okay that there's
但
diversity.
是这没有
It's
什么问
okay
题，
that there's
有
regard
多样
for
性是没
other
问题的，
views. It doesn't change the
有多样
position
的
of our
观点
founder
没有关系。
Acharya. If somebody moves from that position of our founder Acharya, they're not part of ISKCON anymore.
但
It
是呢，
doesn't
如
mean
果我
like,
们
it depends on how their faith moves, but the gift that Srila Prabhupada gave
但是 Srila Prabhupada 所给我们的这些
was
礼物
so special,
是如此的特别。
unprecedented in the history of the world. I can
那么他
think
书写了
of
整个世界的
16
历
things
史。
to say. From the Sri Vaishnava Acharyas predicting this change that would take
从
place
Sri Vaishnava
from
Acharya
the chanting of the holy name, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. They didn't say
他预言了
Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sri
他预言
Vaishnava
了这个
Acharyas are not speaking about
Sri
Chaitanya
Vaishnava
Mahaprabhu. They're
Acharya
speaking of
他
the
们预
principle
言了就
of
是
chanting the holy name.
念诵主的圣名将会传遍全世界，他有了这样的预言。他不是光指的是马哈帕布。
I'll say it and then we're going to end.
那么我想讲这一点，然
Some
后
of
我
you
们就
may
结
know
束。
who was Revati
你们
Raman
当中有些人
Prabhu.
可能知
Revati
道
Raman is the
Revati
leader of the
Ram Prabhu，
Tirupati
他是
temple.
Tirupati 的这个庙宇的领袖。
The leader of the Tirupati temple built
Tirupati
the
的这个
Tirupati temple, the ISKCON Tirupati temple,
ISKCON 的 Tirupati
by
的庙宇
having
呢，
book stalls along the path leading up to Balaji. And the
是一
leaders,
直通
they have
往
the
这个巴拉吉的
TTD, I think they call it, they gave him permission to set
这
up
个
book stalls.
这个
And
庙宇
through
旁边呢，就有很
primarily,
多的这个书，
like this
这个卖
temple is
书的地方，
a lot of fundraising from all over the
而且
place.
他们
His
他们
was
得到了
just
这样的
book
允许，
distribution at
所以就在这里
Tirupati.
这个
And
在 Tirupati 去
he
派
was
书，
so
获得
he
了
was
资
so
金去
good
建立这个庙宇。
at what he did is they volunteered. Would you like to take charge of our prasadam stalls? Because they sell Tirupati, what laddus? Huh? Laddu. Okay. And he agreed because they helped him. He wanted to help them. And there was some number, I forget the number, some number of stalls. He reduced it down to a fewer number of stalls. And it quickly surpassed whatever they were doing before he took that responsibility. And for the temple opening, because there's this nice
那么当时在开庙
affinity,
之前，
ISKCON,
他们还负责了这个
Revati Raman, and all the nice brahmacharis that
这
were
些就是
doing that service. And you know the
他
leaders
做出了
of
很
the
多这样的服
TTD.
务，
So he invited for the temple opening,
所以
the
他当时
3-day
安排
temple
了这
opening,
个
for
这个庙宇的开庙的仪
somebody,
式。
administrator of the TTD or chief priest or something like that. And he was supposed to just come and make a 5-minute pirouette and disappear. To say something nice and show camaraderie. And when he came, this is what Revati Raman told me. I wasn't there. There was
当时我
kirtan,
并不在场，
and the kirtan was the hall
在
was
当时的
packed
Kirtan 的时候，
with young, educated,
全
bright-faced
是
chanters and dancers.
全是
And
这些年
the
轻的
priest
这
stood
些
there for
载
an
歌
hour and
载
a
舞
half
的
just
这些
watching.
奉献者。那么
And he
当
came
时
back
的
the
这个
next day, and he came back the next day. And he said something at the end. I didn't see
祭
the
司当时就
copy
看
of
到
it,
这一
but
切，
on national TV saying what these people are doing, it far outshadows anything that we've done. Something like that. Because it's so
那么当时这
transformational,
个
the chanting of the holy name.
就
Just
是
the appreciation
当时
for Prabhupada and what his gift has given us,
那
coming
当时
from
电视台就报道这
persons
些，
like
就是
that.
看到这些不可思议的这种转变，这些
Now, there are
这些
people that
年
are
轻的这
envious
些
and don't
外国
like
人
it,
来在这
etc.,
里
etc.
唱
But
诵，
one who understands the holy
他们就
name
本地的人就
and
是
has faith
本地
in
的
the
祭司也
chanting of the holy
赞
name,
许到，就
the,
是
the
爬
way
爬
of the
带来
chanting
了
of the
多么
holy
大的
name
不可思议的转变
of。the Hare Krishna people in the ISKCON Tirupati temple was certainly different than what they do up on the hill.
那当然，当
But
时
the
在
principle is
我
the
们
same.
ISKCON 的这个 Tirupati 的
It's
庙宇
very
的，
powerful.
就是他们所做的
Very
事情，肯定跟
powerful.
他们在山上这个崇拜巴拉吉的这个
Somehow
庙宇，他们
we
做的
just
事情肯定是不一
got
样
in
的。
the way and got connected with something very powerful. And many of our lives have changed
那么
dramatically.
我们当中很多人都因为和爬爬的这样的一种连接，我们的生活发生了改变，天翻地覆的改变。
There's so many anecdotal stories. It's really easy to tell anecdotal stories. Just
那么有太多
re-emphasize
的
and
历史可以去
re-emphasize
讲了，
how
非常容易
how
去讲这
powerful
些。
is the
那么
the
我只是为
process
了
that
去
we've been
强
given,
调，
the bhakti
就是我
process,
们
starting with the
爬
holy
爬给
name.
我们的这个 Bhakti 的程序是多么强大有力。
I'm going to tell one more anecdotal story.
那么我就再讲一个很小的意识，有
Something
很
that I
多这样
received
的
a copy
意识。
of, again from a god brother.
我也是从一个神弟那里接受的这样的一个文件。
Krishna Das Babaji.
Krishna Das Babaji，
Some of you know who that is.
你们
Some
当
of
中
you
有
are
人认识
nodding
他吗？
yes, and some of you are nodding no. During Bhaktisiddhanta's time,
在
there was
Bhaktisiddhanta
one
的那个时间，
young
有一
man
位
that really just
年
loved
轻人
chanting japa, and he would chant japa
就是喜欢
all
念
day
诵
long.
japa，
And
他每天
when
就是不停的念
Bhaktisiddhanta
诵。
traveled around temples, they complained
那
this fellow
Bhaktisiddhanta 到
doesn't do
各
any
地庙宇
service,
去
he just
巡
chants.
视的时候，有人就抱怨说，这个人
Can you tell
他
him to do
啥
some
都不干，就
service?
天天念诵。
He said he can just chant,
但是Bhaktisiddhanta说他可以，
and he
他
did.
可以
He was
念诵，
a deep
他可以只念诵。
kirtanir and a chanter of japa. It was not Haridas Thakur, but like in that kind of direction.
当然，他并不是
So he was
Haridas
very
Thakur，但
much
他的确是
loved
这个方
by
向的这样的一个。
Bhaktisiddhanta and very many senior devotees. His
但是
bhajan
他被很多
kutir
这个
is
年长
right
的奉献
next
者和
to
巴西丹他所认
Sanatana
可。
Goswami's bhajan kutir at
那
Pavan
么就在
Sarovar
Sanatana Goswami
at the
在
base of
Sarova
Nandagram.
那里的
Anyway,
这个，
great personality.
他是个非常伟大的人
So
物，他的
the,
这个
the
萨
little
玛迪也在那里。
passage was, that's little, who he is. He's in a room
那么
with
就是
two
给大家一个印
leading
象他是谁。
sannyasis of
那么当时
disciples of
在他的这个屋子
Bhaktisiddhanta,
里
as he is also.
有2位
One of them was
这
Ban
个
Maharaj,
巴
the
西
other
丹
was
他的这个
Prabhupada.
领袖的门徒，一位
And
叫
he
巴
asked
努
a, you know,
Maharaj， 还有一个就是
interesting question
那
to
当时
both
他就
of
问了一
them.
个问题，
Both of you are
他说
very
你们2
scholarly.
个人
Both of you
都非
are
常的
very good writers.
都非常的
Both of
博学
you
精
were
深，
given some mandate
都非
to
都非
go
常的有
outside of
有
India
力量，
and give and
而且
spread
你
the
们
message of
都给
Chaitanya
被给
Mahaprabhu
予这样的
widely.
讯息，让你们
One of
到
you
印
was
度之外去传
successful
播。
and the other
krishna
was
拒绝
not. Why?
但为什么你们其中一个人成功了，另外一个人失败了呢？为什么？所以当时他们一
And
脸诧
I
异，
forget, Ban Maharaj said something
但是我忘
humble.
了，这其中的巴努
And
马哈尔说了一些话，
He said
然后帕帕
because
说了一些话，
Swamiji had all faith in the holy
但
name.
是 Krishna Das 爸爸就说，他说帕
There's
帕
many
Swami
different
他有
statements,
完
and so
对圣名有
our
完全的信
lives
心
are。resting upon the faith of our founder Acarya when he had nothing. Of course, he had faith in the
那么
Srimad Bhagavatam as well,
我们的创办领星导师当时
light of
什
the
么都没有，
Bhagavat, and so many,
但是
you
他
know,
对圣名
the
有着完全
mission,
的信心，对使
writing
命有
Srimad
着完全的信
Bhagavatam,
心。
publishing it when he had no money. He published it
他没有
anyway,
钱的，当时他出版了《圣殿博加瓦坛》，
but he couldn't go to this conference in Japan because he didn't have the money to get on an airplane.
但他没有办法去日本参加这个大会，因为他没有钱这个买机票。
But very powerful vision, gifted,
爸
empowered
爸却有这么
by
这种强有力的这种
Krishna
视
and
力，
his
并且被赋予了
spiritual
力量，
master. And
而且
anyone
对他的灵性
in the
导师
future, there
充
may
满了
be other
信心和这
acharyas,
个服
but
从。
there's one founder acharya deriving the strength of any acharya from our founder acharya. We should keep that position. And Prabhupada wanted, in this light of the Bhagavad, he wanted
那帕帕
us,
在博加瓦坛之光
he wanted
中，
everyone,
这个巴
he
格瓦坛之
especially
光中，
wanted thoughtful people to become
他特别的
sages and acharya-like
希
and
望
take the
就是
message
这
far
些
and
被启
wide
明的人，或者
and
说
bring
善于思
light
考的
to
人，
this
能够
age
成
of
为
darkness.
这个阿查亚，能够去照亮人们
So that's
这个
my
处在
message
愚
for
昧中的
this
人们，
Friday evening.
这
If
都
there's
成为
some
圣人。
discussion, look, there's lots of room in here. We're all like worried,
看看有
how's
没有什么
everyone going to
讨
fit?
论。
Let's see what happens tomorrow morning. Comments?
有没有什么评论或者是提问呢？
Maharaj, I was captured by the phrase
那么
different breed in the definition of an acharya. And sometimes understanding that the acharya
创办理性
is
导
a
师
different
非
breed,
常震撼。
we can almost act in ways that diminishes their humanity, placing unrealistic expectations or demands, or considering them to be beyond the human emotions of hurt or pain, or
有的时候我们会认为
considering
他
them
们
beyond the
超越了
need for support, for instance.
超越
So
了人
this
类的
Vyasa
这
Puja is
些
very
普通的
intimate, it's
情
a very
感，
personal
超
event,
越了
and I'm
对这
wondering
种
if you're willing
需求和
to
真
shed
实
some
的这种
light
需要。
on how to understand that the
我希望
Acharya
能够
is a different breed, at the same time
能
not
够
diminish their humanity.
去帮我理解，就是创办理性导师是如何不一样、不同寻常的样的人。
I'm not sure why you're asking the question, because a different breed
我不
is
知道
a
你
different
为什么
breed.
会问这样的问题。说他就是创
So
办领导师
as
跟我们不是
opposed,
同一类人
because，the different breed is in contrast to
所以
different
说的不是
than
同一类人。
the modern academician.
那在这里其实讲的是
It's not the different breed.
说到
they
是说
may
到这
have
个
whatever they may
Acarya
have,
是不一样的，与现代学术
and they may
这
have
个教授是不一样的，
followers,
讲的是这点。
but they're not taking
但是
full charge of the lives
这
of
些
those
学者他
followers.
们
You
有
know,
他们的
it's
追随
just
者，
like there are some people in the room. You're one of them, that are your parents.
那
And
么
it's
就
not
像在
like
场的很多人，
your interest
你们
in
当
your
中有很多
children
是这个家长，
is narrow. Like how good are your grades in school, or
那并不是说父母是
how
非常狭隘
good
的，
are
但
you
是
at mridanga playing and harmonium playing compared to the other kids,
就说
or
这个孩子
you know
在学习上比别的
something or
孩子要
something
优
or
秀多少，
something or something.
或者说孩
You
子
know,
米
it's,
当嘎
the
鼓
the
打比
holistic
别人要
picture
强多少。
is parenting.
那
It's
么
not just get a good score in
教
your
育孩
Bhakti
子是一个
Shastra
非常全
exam.
面的事情，并不光是
It's
只是某一
it's
方面，
the
不是
character,
说是 Bhakti
the
Shastri，
holistic picture.
整个教育孩子是一个
And
关乎这个
we're going to
是有
hear
关于
tomorrow evening
关于人格的。
about Sudama Brahman.
那么在最后一堂
And
课，我们会听到 Sudama
when
Brahman
Krishna
的
is
故事
speaking。to Sudama
那么
Brahman,
当 Krishna 对 Sudama Brahma 说话的时候
he says, the
，Krishna 说
service to Guru pleases me
对
more
理
than
性导师
anything.
的服务比一切都
Then
要
he
取
goes
悦于
on
我
to。say there are three
接
gurus.
着
I'm
Krishna
trying
就
to
说到
focus on your question, but I can't help speak this other thing. There's
那么我
the
想想回答你
father,
的问题，但是我
the
我
one
想
who
去说点别
teaches
的。
rituals, and the one who teaches paradharma. And they're all guru, but the most important is one who's teaching paradharma. So if that teaching is there, if that's at the
世俗的
center,
Dharma，但是
then the
真正的理
holistic
性导
picture
师则
is
是
made
更为重要
easier.
的，则是教
Say
授一个人至高的
opposite.
Dharma。
If that's missing, the holistic picture is made impossible. 所
所
it
以也就是说，
because there's a
我们
holistic
如果迷
picture
失
doesn't
了
mean
我们错
you
过了
don't
这
pay
个
attention to the
全
holistic
景，或者
picture.
说错过它的终极的目标的话，我们就错失了这一切
The person who's
所
teaching
做的一切的意义。
paradharma
那这个教
is
授
loving,
Paradharma 的人，
like a loving father. Now, that's a qualified person
这是一个具备资格的
who's a
一个
different breed. Here's a little Prabhupada story. There's like so many.
那么这里有一个关于爬爬的一个
One
小
of
故事。
Prabhupada's assistants, wasn't
有一个
he was assisting
助手
Gaur Govinda Maharaj in
他当时在
Bhubaneswar.
协
His
助
name is
Gaura Govinda
Bhagwat.
Maharaj。
Bhagwat tells the story when he was there was a big festival in
Bhagwat-
Mayapur. Prabhupada had come back from his morning
Bhagwat
walk.
帕布
You
当时
know,
就
there was like did
讲
the
了一
circumambulation around the deities and rang the bell, and everyone's jumping off the ceiling and the walls and everything like that.
那么当时在庙
And
宇
then
里面，
Prabhupada
就
sat
是
down in the Vyasa
当时帕帕就在众人的这种欢呼中坐到了
and
Vyasa 座
to
上，
receive Guru Puja. While
然后接
Guru
受 Guru
Puja was
Puja。
going on,
在 Guru Puja
he
进行的
noticed
时
that
候，
Bhagwat was limping, trying to dance, but he was. So he motioned for him to come over. Prabhupada wrote on a
但是
piece of
Prabhupada 就
paper
看到
during Guru Puja, when everyone's going, Jai Prabhupada, wrote on a piece of paper where, what he should do for the cut on his foot. He asked, why that particular medicine, go right now, go
就
to
在
the
那个时
clinic,
候
just tell him
，Bhagwat
it's
他
from
的
me,
脚
and take care
脚
of
受
your
伤
foot.
了，所以他跳不起来，他就帕
And
帕看到
then
众人跳起来的时候，他
Bhagwat
的
was like
脚是破的，所
floating
以帕帕
around,
当时就
saying,
写了一
"Oh,
个
so
纸条，
loving."
就告诉他
And he
他
went and took
治
care
疗
of
他
his
的脚
foot.
伤需要什么样的草药。
Right in the middle of Guru Puja Kirtan in Mayapur with hundreds of people around.
而当时在马尔普就成百上千人在
Now,
那里
that's。our founder Acharya. What about the rest of us that aren't founder Acharyas? We're to become Acharya like. And that's a different breed
那么这是我们的
Then-
创办理性导师，那我们余下的人怎么办？
And
我们应当
accommodation
去
that
追
has
随我们的
followers.
创办理性导师，像他一样。
Good persons that are really good in academia, they have followers.
那么有些擅长学术
They
的人，他
follow
们的
them
确有一大
around
批
like,
追随者。
shishas.
那么那些人就像谁一样，追
You've
随着
seen,
这些
I've
这
seen.
些学术领袖们。
But
你们也见到，
it's
我也见到。
not the same.
但是这跟我们追随我们的创办理性导师是不一样的。
Anything else?
就是他们不光是有学术，而是有着人格，全面的一个人格。
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. I want to share a thought
Hare Krishna 牧师，我想去分享一下
I
我
said
的
my
这个
class is going to
我
be
的想
tomorrow
法。
morning. It's going to be Monday morning, 5:30.
That's not a thought.
Can we do something with that feedback? Oh, controllers of material energy.
那么有没有人能够解决一下这个话筒回音的问题？你直接控制物质自然能量的。
These are our sound demigods.
这里是我们控制声音系统的半神人。
Go ahead, try again.
那你继续来讲吧。
I'm thinking the founder Acarya
我正在想这个
and
创办灵性导师，
the organization that is
以及
founded.
他这个创办的组
This
织，
two can be compared to the sun and the sunshine.
Yes.
So there
这
is
两者可以
no
被
meaning
比为
to
比
speak
作太阳
about
和
a
太阳
founder
光。
Acharya without speaking about the organization.
That he
And
founded.
there is no
Yeah.
meaning to the organization if we
我们不
don't
能够
have
说
the founder
撇开创
Acharya
办灵性
put
导
it
师
forward.
去谈这个
Beautiful.
他所创办的组织，
And
也不能撇开
So
这个
just
组织来去
look
谈
look at
创办灵性导师，
the
这不可
hybrid
分割的，像太阳和
word
太阳光一样。
founder Acharya. It
那么这
indicates
个组合的这个
that
词，创办灵性导师这个词，
it is both
指出了
an emblem and a standard for
是一个标
future
准，
successors
是所有的将来的
who
继承
is
者
willing to work for the
树立的这样的一个
organization.
标准，
And
去
Yes.
确立这样的一个
it is where loyalty and
协会。
cooperation
那
come
么这
from.
在于我们的，这是忠诚和这个合作是从何而来的？
Has anyone here been to Udupi?
你们在座的有没有人去过乌杜皮？
And from your visit to Udupi,
如果你
what's
们去过乌杜
what's
皮
the，first and foremost outstanding thing that you notice?
那么你们注意到的一个特别
Everyone.
显眼的事情是什么呢？
It's
就
in
是
reference to Madhvacharya. And how many generations
每一个
since
人
Madhvacharya is this? But everyone is
但每一个
Madhvacharya,
人
Madhvacharya, 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 Madhvacharya.
都在谈
And
论
that term,
这个 Madhvacharya
founder Acharya, is in Dr.
是
Sanyal's
过了多
book.
少代呢？
It applies to
那么
such people.
那么这个创办灵性导师
And
是在这个
He was
桑
applying
雅
it to
教授之后
Bhaktisiddhanta as the founder Acharya of the
出现
Gaudiya
这个词，并且巴西丹他也被
Mission
赋予这样的一个头衔，就是他
or Gaudiya
这是
Mat.
高地亚的使命的高地亚
So
的这个创办灵性导师。
when it's done properly, there's no deviation.
那么当这一切就是恰当的去运行的时候，就没有偏离
And，
没有偏离。
The person, Madhvacharya, is central.
Madhvacharya
And this kind
这样的一
means
个人，
that
他
for,
就是
for,
核
for
心，
future, not just for this generation, it's not just a
所以并
lecture
不说
for
只是这一代
the，current
而是很多
generation, so
代
you，
这
don't
个核心仍
get
然是
lost with the
没有
fading
迷失，
Acharya principle.
不是说像 Acharya 就
You stay connected.
随着时间就流逝了，就模糊了。
Thank you for that nice example. You're a poet.
那非常感谢你刚才提的这个分享的这个例子，
Next,
太阳和太阳光的例子，你是个诗人。
anyone else?
那么还有别
Hare
的
Krishna Guru Maharaj.
别的问题？
I
Hare
just
Krishna Guru
wanted to
Maharaj
understand if you
我
would
想去理解
to speak a little more on like what did Srila Prabhupada mean in that title of his like at the conference. I wanted to understand the meaning of cultivation of human spirit. And
我
then-
想
It
知
was
道
their
帕帕
idea.
当时参加的这个
The
人
organizer
类共
came
建
up with
大会
that
的这个
name.
标题到底有什么意思？
It's so bland. It's pablum. It doesn't, can mean anything to anybody, and that's okay because we want everybody to feel good. And then Prabhupada was giving a definition. He was using their nomenclature
然后帕帕
But
当时
giving a
其实采用
definition
了
is
这个
Vedic
会议的举办者他们用的这个
or
术语。
even more specific, Bhagavad Dharma
其实他谈到人类精神讲的是博雅瓦
is the
谈，
cultivation of human spirit. And he would then
是旨在
sometimes
培
change
养人
out
类
the
的
word
精
human
神。
spirit and call it
他有的时候
self-realization and
会
other
把这
things.
个人类精
But he
神
was just
和
shaping
这个觉
something
悟
that
自
was
我这个词
amorphous
相互换。
because it's amorphous. It was their idea. Is that right?
Yeah, I have just one more question.
Okay.
So when we are talking
还有一个问
about
题
the institution and how our
那我们讨
behavior
论了
as
这个
members of
机构。
ISKCON should be, and so
我们
many
ISKCON
times
的
it
协
might
会会员应
happen
该
that
怎么样？
we do not
有的时
know
候
how to apply a principle properly in a
我们会发
particular
现我们不知道
situation,
怎么样去
and
运用这
mistakes
些原
might
则。
happen unknowingly. So just
那
to
么这
be
样
on
的
a
事情
safe
是非常令
side,
人困扰的。
should we just follow the mode of goodness
我们
principle
我们只是去遵
all the
循
time
更多的
or-
善良形态的原则，还是
Read Prabhupada's
还是怎样？
books
那就去阅读爬爬的书籍，
and
而且
connect, consult those
将
who read Prabhupada's books and are
并且呢去咨询那些
exemplary
阅读爬爬的
personalities who follow
书籍
Prabhupada's
的人
books.，
而且以及那些
And it doesn't mean you're always
通
going
过
to
追
get
随
a
爬爬
10,
的，通过阅读爬爬的
but
书
you're
去
going
追
to
随
do
爬爬
better
榜样
than
的
if
人。
you close your eyes and try to follow the mode of goodness.
那么
Thanks.
这并不是说去盲目的说，只是闭上眼睛去追随这些善良形态的这
Anything
些
online?
规则。
No? Okay. Thank you very much, Prabhupada. Ki. Right.
那非常感谢大家，学了 Papa Key 斋。
There's somebody's going to be sitting at this table over here. If you want a copy,
我
you
们
can
在座
take
的人
a
如果想要
copy.
得到这本
I
这个
think
创办
it's
灵体
just
老师的
give a
小书的话，
donation,
就
whatever
可
you'd
以
like to
去
give
书
with
那
your
边去
donation.
拿，然后去给你们想要给的这个布施，去请
Hare Krishna, everyone.
Hare Krishna。
I'm going to make
今天
just
早上
a
的
few
这个
announcements before we leave. Sorry.
讲课就到这里结
Recording
束了。
stop.
Hare Krishna。
Firstly,